You know, Mr. Chair, I was looking, how did we get to this point? How did we get to this point where we take children out of mothers' and fathers' arms? And, you know, it dated back, family separation in the way that we have seen it, where we take children away from their parents without due process, began last year under Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen, but I had to dig further. Here is the memo that I would like to submit to the congressional record. And it seems as though, Mr. Homan, that you are the author. There were 3 different options presented. The third included the option for family separation. Mr. Homan, your name is on this this correct?
Yes, I signed that memo.
So you provided the official recommendation to Secretary Nielsen on for the United States to pursue family separation.
I gave Secretary Nielsen numerous recommendations on how to secure the border and save lives.
But it says here that you gave her numerous options, but the recommendation was option 3, family separation.
What I'm saying, this is not the only paper where we've given the Secretary numerous options to secure the border and save lives.
And so the recommendation, of the many that you recommended family separation.
I recommended zero tolerance.
There's an important issue here some of you guys might not have noticed on your first viewing of the video. I mean, with all the kind of ethical, political, just dramatic tension in the room. But here it is. The shoulder pads are a problem. And no, I'm not joking. I mean, it kind of sort of is an issue in our society that a huge percentage of women go around with padded bras. But your shoulders are really on display in our society all the time. And to the same extent that many people might get a warped notion of like, what is normal, or just what is the shape of the human body, if you live in a society where all women all the time are wearing padded bras, to a much greater extent, right here and right now, our sense of what are the proportions of the human body, it's kind of warped. Because people like this, especially in formal and important situations like this, they're wearing shoulder pads all the time. Look at the size of my human head. Look at my head, the width of my head relative to my shoulders. Okay, I'm in shape. I'm working out at the gym. I'm doing okay. But that's one human head versus one shoulder. Now look at this. Look at the size of this guy's shoulders. Look at the proportions of the shoulder to the head. And that's compared to Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's compared to Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime. So we live in a society where men, including overweight, out of shape, elderly men, want to look like a kind of imposing gorilla. They want to look like their shoulder is 3 times the width of their skull in terms of their proportions. And this has become normalized. It's become normalized to an extent that would seem laughable or absurd if it were women patting their chests or men patting their crotches or anything else. So my modest proposal is that we ban shoulder pads. I guess it's easy to look back at other cultures from other periods of history and laugh at what they considered men's formal wear, but could we maybe collectively recognize as a culture that compared to people wearing robes in medieval China or people wearing a toga in ancient Rome, actually our customs are a huge step backwards in civility, that we're wearing kind of padded, phony armor that's designed to make us look less pot-bellied than we are, less fat than we are, and more like a gorilla with an enormous shoulder. I mean, maybe one of the first steps towards greater civility in our political and personal discourse would be to take off the shoulder pads, literally and figuratively, for both women and men.
Zero tolerance was interpreted as the policy that separated children from their
If I get arrested for DUI and I have a young child in the car, I'm going to be separated. When I was a police officer in New York and I arrested a father for domestic violence, I separated that father from his family.
Mr. Homan, with all due respect,